Hello friends, welcome to Bhugol Khagol, a channel for learning about geography, geology and earth sciences. Today we have with us Professor Sudeshna Bhattacharya, a retired faculty member from Department of Geography, Miranda House, University of Delhi. She graduated from Presidency College, Calcutta and pursued her masters also from the same. Later she came to Delhi and pursued her PhD from Delhi School of Economics with
Physical geography,
in physical
geomorphology.
geography with S.K. Pal sir,
Yes.
Professor
Yes,
S.K. Pal,
yes.
yes, very famously known for statistical methods in geography. Yes, that green and orange book.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, to begin with, I would like to ask ma'am, and in fact, she has taught me. I am a geographer because of her. Whatever I am, good, is because of her. and so I would like to ask the first question: why you chose geography as a subject?
See, a lot of it depends on the teacher.
Yes.
Yeah. So in school we had a wonderful teacher, and I was always interested in things around me, mostly the physical world around me. And although there was a tendency for for people to take up English or history, but I've always been interested in geography, how things work around me.
Okay.
So that is how it was.
Okay. Yes, I think teachers play a wonderful role. Even for me, the very important factor to become to take geography as a career was because of my teachers only. Yes. Um, then, what do you think is geography? How do you define it?
It is basically, if you can define it as, a lot of prominent people have done, but basically it is to understand the relationship of things which are in juxtaposed over space, the spatial, but it is nowadays it is quite beyond that, but the basic is still there, that we try to understand the patterns that is created by different phenomena over space, whether it is physical or human induced phenomena. So that is what geography is.
How do you think geography can be used in the present times? I mean, uh, like we have so many challenges related to urban growth, pollution, the degradation of the environment, and so on and so forth.
So in everything, every policy actually, we should be a little more forward in showing that we can do things, that different things which are happening, whether it's the environment, the pandemic, the recent pandemic that happened, geography had a very major role to play, and how it spread, and it was not contained within, one wanted to contain it, but it was not contained within a particular geographical area. So and decision making, economic, socio-economic decision making is very much connected to geography. So one should pay a little more heed to what the geographers are saying currently.
Yes, I think there has been quite an underrepresentation of geographers at positions of eminence, I would say, where from where the decisions are being taken. But I think there is a lot of scope, and geographers are also trying to diversify. I mean, you can tell better.
No, you'll find that especially the sociologists, the economists,
Yes.
are actually taking up positions which geographers should have.
Should have, yes.
So there, as you say, there's a lot of scope that we should really, really represent ourselves
Yes.
better.
Yes, I remember that if you want to learn about a topic, say for example migration or social geography or anything, I think it is better if you go to sociology stacks in the library, and sometimes to commerce, sometimes to economics. So we have, this subject is so much intermix of various science and social science subjects that it can give us a character and sometimes dilute it also.
But the thing is, if you just look at map
Yes,
making, and
map
if you go
making.
back to the history of cartography, then you'll find that geography is there
Everywhere.
from the initial stages,
Yes,
even
yes.
before economics or
Yes,
sociology,
yes,
history.
yes.
History is there, of course,
Yes.
of humankind, but before that, geography and the different spatial aspects were very much there. Ever since
Always.
human beings stood up and
Yes,
you know,
yes, and started looking for food
exactly,
and directions.
exactly.
Yes. So geography was born with the human beings actually.
Yeah. It wasn't. The human beings came after.
Yes.
But to take cognizance of what is
Yes.
there,
Yes.
but it was there. The spatial interrelations, the spatial, I mean, whether it is the physical, attributes, whether it's climate or the morphology of the surface.
Yes, that
So
is
we had to take count of that. That these are there and this is how it is.
yes. So today, ma'am will be talking about a very pertinent topic: extreme weather.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have learnt about global warming, climate change, but still, there are certain things we are unable to decipher. And probably today's lecture is going to throw some light on
Yeah, I could
that
say I
perspective.
would like to throw some light. And actually, the topic climate change is so, it has become very, what do you call it, cliched now.
Yes.
Anything which happens, it's climate change. Of course, extreme weather definitely connects up. But the thing is that last 40 years, 40 plus years, I think 1985 was when people realized and recognized that the ozone hole is something to be,
Yes.
one has to really take, understand that and behave accordingly. But I mean, there are still people, there are still these countries which, kind of that kind of thing, that who is going to take the step of reducing
Yes.
our footprints.
Yes.
And from when it really started, from the industrial revolution onwards, because climate change is nothing new, it happens.
Yes. It's a
It's a
natural.
it's a no, I mean, it's a what do you call it, in the history of the world it has happened.
Yes.
The ice ages came, the warm ages came, but the kind of things that we are doing is enhancing it. So what I'm going to talk about it, I've got some of these slides and some information, because this year we are used to somewhat to extreme weather, but last year August was bad. So I've taken some examples from 2021 August, and I'm going to talk about extreme weather. In fact, the coining of this phrase is also very recent, but people are doing a lot of work on extreme weather. So here I've just brought some slides, just brought some information of what was happening last year. This year also, I mean, extreme weather can't leave us. This year, North India, let's talk about Delhi only. Delhi has seen, from the beginning of the monsoon period, periods of extreme rainfall. So I would really call them extreme weather, although it is, you really can't relate it to the last 30 years or so. Every other day you find that since 2014, the earth has warmed up unprecedentedly. So I think let me talk about what I want to talk about today, about extreme weather. So 2020. Can I have the next slide, please?
Of course. Okay.
So this is something which we all know, that the Earth's atmosphere is warming up due to climate change, and the likelihood of extreme weather increases. There is devastating destruction, especially in places which has not experienced such weather. In a country like India or in Africa, in the Saharas, temperatures going up to 49, 50 degrees, we deal with it. Rajasthan especially, we deal with it. Rajasthan, Gujarat. And we've also had episodes of extreme um, rainfall and the resultant condition, most of it is created by us. Not the extreme rainfall, but that we are not able to control the result. But there are places all over the world, which especially in the higher latitudes, where this kind of extreme temperatures have not been experienced. So we'll talk about it a little as we go ahead. So yeah, these are the July-August 2021, a selection of places which has seen extreme weather, the fires and the floods. We see here you can see that it's a belt actually. And how there have been floods in areas which is unprecedented. Turkey, I'll have some pictures in Western Europe, fires, forest fires in the western part of United States, Canada, and different parts of the world along a particular. You can see here it's not the tropical. Well, of course, India does come under the tropical area. South Sudan also does, but how it's a particular belt if you go by this map.
Yeah.
So this is Helen Locke, I've taken some of these excerpts from people who have been working with extreme weather, and during the COVID-19 pandemic, reports of devastating floods, wildfires, heat waves. It's a painful reminder of how another crisis, this crisis was already there. It was brewing, the extreme weather crisis, along with the pandemic, which was sort of, whichever you look at it, it could be part of global warming or not, human induced or not. Let us not get into that. But summer of 2021, heat waves and devastating floods all over the world. And changing the lives of people, changing their lives, because this is such an unprecedented kind of weather event, or events I should say, that nobody was prepared. Can I have the next one, please? So this is, which is very, very unusual, Canada and British Columbia, which is, it has the cold current coming past it. So it's an area which is cold. Even summers, the temperatures are pretty low, but 49.5 degrees is grueling. People are drinking out of the hydrants. People are sitting in the water, in the lakes, and very, very, Washington, Oregon states, British Columbia have been experiencing once in a millennium event. So I'll just have a look at what is happening. Is it something totally, the next one please. Here, this is the heat dome which has created that unprecedented temperature. So the thing is that the heat dome is nothing unusual because it happens there. The sea waters are warm. The temperature of the air above the sea waters is higher than that over land, and a high pressure system develops, pushing the warm air back down to the surface. It becomes denser, hotter as it gets compressed. So it's a situation of high pressure and compression and inversion, of course. So climate change is expected to increase the frequency of such extreme weather events because we are going back, because you see, even now, there are certain groups of people like the Liberty Institute who talk about climate change being more of a fad, more of a industry thing than actual. But we see, especially because of these extreme weather events, one is convinced that the heating up of the atmosphere because of us is really happening. Next one, please. It is the same thing which is a little more explicit. The phenomenon begins when there is a strong change in ocean temperatures due to convection. The gradient causes more warm air heated by the ocean surface to rise over the ocean surface. Prevailing winds move the hot air east, and the northern shifts of the jet stream trap the air and move it towards the land, where it sinks, resulting in heat waves. The thing is that the atmosphere is it works in a particular way. And if due to human intervention or uh, just a normal heating up of the ocean surface, that is, of course, it is happening all over, then it gets into the way of the normal circulation of the atmosphere, and then it has created a heat dome like this. So Western Pacific temperatures have increased in the past few decades, relatively more than the temperatures in the Eastern Pacific. Eastern Pacific, the temperature differential is not that much because we have the cold ocean currents, and you have the the warm ocean currents, and you have the temperature over land. But here in the Western Pacific, there was a remarkably difference in temperature. So the heat dome is effectively what it sounds like, an area of high pressure that remains static over a region, trapping the heat, and more likely to form during the La Nina years, like 2021 was a La Nina year, when the waters are cool in the Eastern Pacific and warm in the West. Now, coming to these places which had unprecedented extreme weather conditions, flood in the Bad Neuenahr-Alvar, Germany on February 16, July 2021. You see, it's a short time period when this is happening all over the world, and how the river with all its entrapped sediments are coming down and breaking down the bridge. So this is okay. The next one, please. We have some more. The flooding was caused by a storm that slowed to a crawl over parts of Europe on Wednesday, obviously aided by the upper air circulation, dumping as much as 6 inches of rain on the region near Cologne and Bonn, before finally beginning to let up on Friday. So it's a small period, excessive rainfall, which has happened. There was flooding in Belgium, Netherlands, Switzerland, but the worst impacts were on Germany, with the official death toll past 125 on Friday and was sure to climb. So you see, there's a situation at that point of time where there are two things which are working: the pandemic and these natural extreme weather events. So this was a frightening example of an extreme weather event, with some places getting a month's worth of rain in a day. But this is becoming more and more common, which we saw this time in Delhi.
Yes.
Here we see these, just look at the left corner photograph, half the buildings are submerged. So it was, and all over you can see what is happening. These are places which, there would be rainfall, the water would go down. Western Europe, part of, a developed part of the world, which has not experienced such things, with power cuts, with you have to wade through water, we have to vacate houses which you can't come back to. So it was really, really a serious kind of a situation. Next one, please. So, are the European floods linked to the climate crisis? Definitely. Scientists have long predicted climate disruption will lead to more extreme weather, such as heat waves, droughts, and floods. Actually, as I was mentioned at the beginning, that more than 4 decades have gone since we got to know that things are going to be bad. But initially, the entire community wasn't very aware, or was very certain that things are going to happen. In fact, there was a meeting last week. One of the students asked, not a meeting, it was a seminar. So this girl, she asked that it's a very slow process. Then it struck me it is not a slow process at all. It is happening practically overnight. It is happening very, very fast. If you think that the weather situations, I'm calling it weather, it's not a, because climate, it's a much more longer period, but weather situations in the life of one generation is pretty fast if you consider the conditions which is happening all through. So this is just a catalog of what we are doing. Human emissions from engine exhaust fumes, forest burning, and the other activities are heating the planet. Atmosphere gets warmer, it holds more moisture, which brings more rain. All the places that recently experienced flooding, Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, London, Edinburgh, Tokyo, they have a heavy summer rain, but with this climate crisis, it has been escalated. Next one, please. So, floods and heat waves is not uncommon. Otherwise, we wouldn't have coined such terms. So, what is the evidence that humans are making them worse? First, more records are being broken more often. I mean, the frequency of these extreme events are rising. 7 hottest years in recorded history have all come since 2014. Scientists can now use statistical analysis. This is something which makes it much more available to the people who are concerned and to the people who should be concerned. I mean, general public, because we can use statistical data and computer models to understand, calculate and understand what is happening all around us. Next one, please. So this is these are more pictures of what has been happening. You can see Xingzhou in China and in Turkey, forest fires. I mean, there have been forest fires, there have been floods, but these are really, really unprecedented. So many scientists have long warned about the risk of extreme weather increasing in line with global temperature rises, but have still described being shocked by the scale of weather events this summer. So it was in a very, very short period all over the world. It's not concentrated on eastern part of Western Pacific or eastern part of Eastern Pacific, western part of the Americas. It was global. So the planet is already 1.2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Complex weather system has been disrupted, and atmosphere gets warmer, holds more moisture, which brings with it more rain. Another picture of forest fire in Turkey. You can see how close the buildings are, and they have been in a real disaster situation in these places. And I haven't mentioned the forest fires of California. That was also, and it would rage continuously. Yeah. So this is Uganda. You can see how the flood waters and I've just jumped from the affluent western part of the world to not so affluent people. You can see how, this is something which corresponds to what our people experience in our country. So, floods, severe weather, they have severe weather, but this was unprecedentedly severe. Next one, please. Yes, we come to heat waves to rainfall records. Extreme July for Delhi's weather. This year also we've experienced it, but this is, city has been breaking a weather record every month since August 2020. The India Meteorological Department shows that till July 29, that is Delhi received 463.5 millimeters of rain. In an average year, this number is 210.6 millimeters. And once more, it is extremely heavy rainfall. The next one, please. Since we are much more concerned with our country, you can see the upper right-hand corner. This is below one of these bridges that we have, not the flyovers, you know, there would be a road above, and you see how, and there have been situations when people have died, which is unprecedented in a city like its capital of India, and we are still such unprecedented extreme weather is creating such situations. So both are from our city, Delhi. So this is, I had to mention this, that Delhi has experienced more extreme weather events in 2022. According to India Meteorological Department, Delhi experienced at least 3 extreme weather events from the onset of monsoons till October 2022. So you can see that the frequency is increasing. Initially, the season's rainfall was thought to be deficit, but the short duration extreme rainfall events turned the deficit to surplus. This is, of course, statistics, because ultimately we come to know it is surplus, but it's the small period and a smaller area rainfall. The Saptajang Observatory received 116.6 millimeters of rain in just 8 hours on 30th June. 20th September, it was 72 millimeters of rain. These are all very high numbers. And between 8th to 9th October, the amount of rainfall was 128 millimeters. So they are all higher than the average. This is a very, very interesting thing. I kept it within my, what I'm talking about. This is, it seems, looking at the picture, it seems as if it was from the Tornado Alley in southern part of USA, but it isn't. This is Hooghly district of West Bengal, which has never ever experienced a tornado. Yes, and this tornadoes are created as an extension of a supercyclone. So this is what has happened, which is very, very, nobody was ready. Nobody was ready of what, people came to watch, but what I've come to know, that there was no casualties, but it's a very, very unusual picture happening in the, lower part of, eastern part of the country. This is, of course, this is a usual picture in the Himalayas, where the sediments are so loosely, compacted, and but such a major landslide, which is blocking the course of a major river in the mountains, is very, very unusual. So it has to be, there was unprecedented amount, all these rainfall events that were happening, the days when the plains were receiving less amount of rain, the mountains would get a lot of rain, and they would be very, very high. And this is what has happened, which is, yeah. So I have a roundup of India's worst climate change events in 2021. Melting glaciers. I have to mention in this that I've spoken to experts who are working on glaciers. In the Himalayas itself, there are places where the glaciers are not melting and they are advancing. Very, very, could be the aspect, or because the south facing, as we all know, that south facing are receiving more sunlight. So south facing places with probably great glaciers are retreating. And whatever, but definitely, if you take it as a total, in totality, it is glaciers are melting. There's a lot of meltwater accumulating. Then there's a sudden outburst. We have Kedarnath, we have Kashmir. Not this year, but it has happened in the last decade or so. 5-6 years.
5-6 years.
There are more cyclones, especially in 2021. There have been more cyclones, and the part of Arabian Sea, which did not have cyclones before, are having cyclones because of the temperature increase. It's getting hotter and hotter. We find Delhi, since I'm a resident of Delhi, I can say that from 1983, when came to Delhi till now, I mean, it's really got much more hotter than what it used to be. And monsoon floods, of course, we all contribute and don't clean up our um, sewer systems and rainwater channels and all that. But whatever, that is one of the reasons that we are getting floods in the cities at least. But definitely, there is a much more amount of rainfall which is happening. And lightning strikes, I think last year we got this year we haven't heard of that many, but last year they were in different parts, especially in the eastern part of India. There were a lot of deaths due to lightning strike. So I haven't included the tornado because that was just one instance. But all these things have been happening and increasing in number. The next one, please. So extreme weather has affected almost every corner of the globe, with deadly consequences. As I mentioned, that there were parts of the globe which had gotten so used to the kind of lifestyle in the western part of Europe and western part of North America, and it was things which happened when, I mean, they were totally unprecedented. I'm using this word over and over again because things are actually unprecedented. And it's happening in a very, very short, more in frequency, the time period is shorter. So scientists have been warning that climate change would contribute to an increase in frequency and severity of freak weather. That's another coinage which people are using, extreme weather or freak weather. They are freak weather events. The threat posed by phenomena such as sea level rises and extreme drought have been regarded until recently as a problem for the developing world. That's also one of the things, because we've we've read about how Bangladesh and other parts of these Southeast Asian countries have been trying to grow their food on floating, parts of vegetation where it can be grown, because more and more water and salt water is getting into their land. And but this year, 2021, showed that this is not really for the developing world. We've had recent climate meets and what one could do, and from I still don't remember the year. Kyoto Protocol would be in 19 whatever. It's quite some
95,
decades back, and the Western world washed their hands off, saying it's not what we are doing, it's the developing country. The developing country said that you're already developed, so you have to give us space to develop as well. But whatever, this was a leveler. The pandemic was a leveler, and the extreme weather was also a leveler. So, the next one. We've mentioned this before. Devastating flooding in Germany, Belgium killed almost 200 people, accounted for by mid-July. In these numbers, if you take India into consideration, doesn't sound to be that many. But if you take those countries which are not as populated as India is, they are killing almost 200 people is a huge number. And represented Germany's worst natural disaster in 50 years. Flooding in China killed over 300 people. Heavy rainfall also has caused rivers to overflow in Uganda, landslides in India, flash flooding in London and New York City. So, following this catastrophic flooding in Germany, I mean, just see how things are. When things happen in the Western world, the developed world, people sort of sit up, and UN delivered code red for humanity. These things are happening periodically in the East and the Southeast Asian countries, but people haven't sat up. These are developing countries. I'm sorry, relapsing into Hindi. But the UN delivered a code red for humanity this month, which made clear the extent to which human activity is responsible for climate change and its already devastating effects. It sort of underlined the fact. So, IPCC's report on climate change, the frightening future that awaits us. Is climate change reversible? Too little, too late? There's a lot of talk about mitigation, but mitigation is a long process. Adaptation is a shorter process. But one should sit up and try to think that what is happening. Okay, in May, World Meteorological Organization Secretary General Professor Petteri Talas warned that the new research findings had delivered yet another wake-up call. I mean, it should have been done before, but about the need to fast-track commitments to slash greenhouse gas emissions and achieve carbon neutrality. According to WMO Climate Update, there is a 90% chance that one of the years between 21 and 2025 will be the hottest on record, and a 40% likelihood that annual average global temperature will temporarily reach 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels of the same period. It sounds, when we were discussing climate change, initial seminars and lectures would talk about 0.6 degrees Celsius, and that already was creating problems. Currently it is 1.2 degrees Celsius, which in numbers doesn't sound much, but it is creating a very, very major problem all through. And 0.3 degrees Celsius above that is, one really doesn't know. But the word temporarily is the term which one should, really underline, because this is what we should think about, that this should only be a temporary rise, and what it is going to bring to us, it's really not known. But whatever things are happening as extreme weather conditions, it's going to rise. I think affected areas of 7 cities by 2030. All of them are, you can see, are on, their coastal cities: Bangkok, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Jakarta, Seoul, Taipei, and Manila. Of course, Calcutta and Dhaka and the other cities towards the east, Puri, they're not mentioned here. That is what our scientists should work on. But this is also taken from the World Meteorological Department information. I think that's it. Major findings of 7 Asian cities. More than 96% of Bangkok's land area could be flooded in 2030. It could be put $12.28 billion of GDP at purchasing power, partly. This is also one of the cities which is doing well. I mean, it's a better off country and a better off cities in the Southeast Asian plan. So is Hong Kong. Analysis projected that in Hong Kong, it's an island country, not a country anymore, it's a part of China. Extreme sea level rise and any subsequent flooding could put $2.24 billion of GDP at risk, 90,000 people at risk. Yeah. In fact, I just remembered some years back in Maldives, there was a parliamentary meeting done underwater, submerged in water. It was like a protest which was.
Yes,
yes,
remember.
if you remember, there was a protest that they sort of lodged, which is because these are the countries which is going to be Seychelles, Reunion, which are going to be affected the most.
Yes.
And they have nowhere else to go. Next one, I think that's the end. I think that is all that I have to say. Very daunting view of what is happening around in the world. and we are still quibbling of whose fault it is, who should take steps.
So it's a very difficult scenario at the international level because they're not trying to really solve the problem.
No, we are coming back to the
Same.
square one,
Yes.
and a lot of onus is falling on the developing country, and I really don't know. We are, I mean, all world over, people are trying to come to some consensus. The West is also trying to, before, I mean, I shouldn't get political, but before, the recent US era, there were people were really trying to be blind about what was happening.
Yes.
But hopefully, I mean, one can only be hopeful.
Yes, I think some stern steps need to be taken by every country. Not thinking that they are developed or developing or we can take some mileage or not, but every country should take steps because ultimately it is their people who are suffering.
But I think this information should go down. As I told you, one of our students in college talking about climate change is long drawn, which one doesn't see. So it should really go down to the new generation and go down to the general people. That the thing is that it's not that we don't know, because the original tribals, they know a lot of things. They have a lot of information. They don't know about what is happening the worldwide over, but they have their own way of dealing with the environment. So we should take some, information from them, process some information ourselves,
Yes.
and hope.
So thank you so much for listening to this lecture, and thank you so much, ma'am, for coming over.
You're welcome.
For a wonderful PowerPoint presentation which covers not only India but global, examples from where all extreme events have taken place and trying to link them. I really was, very attracted towards the map that was there because it gives you the hotspots and tries to show you that there is some similarity. We are only looking at news. Okay, today this happened.
That's what geography does.
Parts. Yeah. So looking it in totality is something that opens your eyes. Okay, in 1 year, so many events have taken place, and we didn't even realize. So and that begins the conversation of interlinkages. That we can't say that developed world is responsible or the developing world would be responsible, but it is for all of us. It is going to, I mean, climate change or extreme weathers, they are not going to look at where the events are taking place. They don't discriminate between the boundaries that we have created. So a wonderfully put up lecture as always.
Thank you.
And so nice to listen from you. So much there to learn. So many new things I've learned today also. So thank you so much for coming. I look forward to more such
I'm committed now.
Thank you.